everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chia, and it's about that time of the year again where we do our mid-year freakout tag. I can't believe it's July. Like, where did the last few months go? It's like 2025 already disappeared. But let's get started. It's like the same questions from last year. I don't know who started this tag, but I watched a lot of mid-year freakout tags the last couple weeks, and they all pretty much like are the same similar questions. So let's just get started. The first question is best book you've read so far in 2025, and a disclaimer, I have trouble picking one book for each prompt, so most likely I will either have a few books for each prompt, so be prepared. But of course, the best books I've read so far this year has to go to Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros and The Conditions of Will by Jesse Hastings. Two of my absolute favorite authors, one of my favorite series of all time. Of course, it's literally one of the best books I've read this year so far, and I am sitting in pain ever since that cliffhanger, so I want to reread it so badly, but I'm trying to stop myself because there's so many other books that I need to be reading, and I can wait to reread this whole entire series again when the next book gets announced. So of course I love this. I know this book got a lot of mixed reviews, but I personally love it because I love the characters. This is probably my second favorite so far after Fourth Wing, because this one went a lot more of the high fantasy route and it started fleshing out the story more. A lot of people said they didn't like Xaden and Violet's relationship in this, which I thought was completely wrong because they are more developed in this book. I honestly think that the second book, Iron Flame, had a lot of their miscommunication issues and they had to find a way to solve it and actually speak to each other, and in this book they actually proved the things that they were promising each other at the end of the book, which I fully appreciate, and it shows what an established relationship they have and how their feelings were super strong for each other. And I know a lot of people just want conflict for this relationship, and I don't think it's what's needed at all because there are so much bigger things that are happening in their world. So I absolutely loved it. I love Xaden and Violet's relationship. I love the development of the other side characters, the progress of where the plot is taking us. The ending was absolutely criminal. So yes, this one was like my 5-6 star read of this year, one of, and then also as well as The Conditions of Will. Jesse Hastings is one of my favorite authors of all time. She does an amazing writing of character depth and character analysis, and that's the main reasons why I read her books in the first place. This book is a standalone, and she made me care about every single one of these characters. She made me hate some of these characters, and she just has a beautiful way of writing in-depth characters, and I love how she writes too. It's very different from what other authors do, where she compares certain feelings and certain situations into different metaphors that I never actually thought of, but it helps you understand the characters so much more. So I am always suggesting Jesse Hastings, the Magnolia Park series, as well as this one, and I think this would be a good book to start off with if you haven't read any of the Magnolia Park series, because this is a standalone, so it gives you a taste of Jesse Hastings' writing. Absolutely devoured this book, and another 6-star read of mine. Next question is worst book I've read so far this year, and this might be super controversial, but Silver Elite by Dani Francis. I might give this copy away soon or sell it, or I don't know, just donate it. It's just I despised a lot of the things that happened in this book. I thought the world was really good. It's just that I hated the characters, in all honesty, and this was like one of my 2-star reads of the year. I hardly give out 2 stars because I just don't reach for books that I know I might not like, and this one I had such high expectations for because of like all the marketing that was happening for it, and it just didn't reach the expectation, and I actually had a really terrible time reading it. So one of the worst books I've read this year. I also think Heavenly Bodies is one of the worst books I've read this year, only because of like how highly anticipated I was of this book. I was so ready to fall in love with this book because a couple of my favorite creators absolutely love this story, and I just felt like it fell from my high expectations of it. Also, I was meh about the romance. I did not like the characters whatsoever. I thought they were just copy and paste of all the other romances I've read. The world is amazing though. I love that there's like a celestial plot and it follows the different zodiac signs and how each of them are represented by gods in this book. I wanted more about that, but obviously since it's a romance, it focused more on like the romance, and I just didn't think the romance was strong enough for me to like it. And it's not necessarily the worst of the worst, it's just I think I don't like it because of my high expectations for it. So this was very, very like terribly rated by me. I am still going to continue with the series because I want to see if it will get better, and then I have a 2-book rule for series, so I'm waiting for the second one to come out, and then we'll see if I continue the series from there. Next question is best sequel I've read so far this year, and that has to go to A Throne of Broken Gods by Amber V. Nicole. It's the second book in the Gods Monster series, and Kingdom of Claw by Demi Winters. That's the second book in the Ashen series. I absolutely love both of these books because I think think they did such amazing character depth, especially this one. This one is reeling from the cliffhanger of the first book and how Diana and Samkiel are dealing with it. Samkiel is ever devoted to Diana, and Diana's going through a lot of issues right now because of what happened at the last book and her character growth. And the way I felt with the character development in this, especially since we're shown both their POVs, I absolutely loved it. And this plot was amazing. It's continuing to get a bigger world, and it also introduced more POVs from different characters. So I thought this was amazing, and I was tearing up in a lot of the parts where Diana was feeling about letting people love her and how she felt like she didn't deserve Samkiel to take care of her or anything like that, and that she didn't need anyone. And it was a character growth on how one person can't do everything by themselves, that she has to rely on somebody. And she is very similar to how Nesta was in Court of Silver Flames, and I absolutely love female characters like this who are morally gray and have a lot of growth and in-depth things that they have to go through mentally, and it examines a lot of mental health, and I love that too. So definitely this was another 5-star for me, and I can't wait to read the third book, and the fourth book will be coming out this year as well. I absolutely love this too. It's completely different from all the other books I've read because it deals with a lot more of the Viking romantasy, and this one examines our growth of our female main character and her love story. So she is trying to run away from like certain things that she's feeling about certain people, and also about how she feels about herself, and she doesn't understand really anything at this point. But I absolutely love this sequel. I think this is like the closest I've ever felt to reading the Throne of Glass series, the feeling of it, of reading it, and this, I can't wait to continue this series. I am seriously dying for the third book. I have the novella to tide me over until March, but I'm so ready for the third book because of the huge cliffhanger that happened at the end of this book. So the best sequels I've read so far are these two. The worst sequel I've read so far this year is unfortunately City of Souls and Sinners by Kayla Edwards. I had such high hopes for the second book because I did really like the first book. I loved how Loren and Darian's relationship was, and the world was amazing. I thought it was a slightly better done world compared to Crescent City, and this one I loved that it was darker and grittier. Like I said, I liked the relationship that was progressing with Darian and Loren, and also the found family that she was finding this because she was getting closer to the other 7 devils. But in this book, like, the biggest problem I had with the first book was that Loren just was playing the damsel in distress and she had to be rescued all the time, and I heard that the second book would be better and she had a better character development in this book, and she did until the last quarter of the book, and after that she went back to being a damsel in distress instead of helping out, and it was just, oh my god, I just could not stand this book. I absolutely thought this book was way too long and it dragged a lot of parts. Also, I hate to say this, but Darren kind of gave me the ick in this book. He just was so not himself in this book, so I ended up unfortunately giving this a 3 stars, I think, and I'm so sad, and that's why I'm kind of hesitating on moving on to the third book. But I'll probably move on to the third book within the next like month or so because the fourth book is coming out this month in July, so I just want to see it, and I hope in the third book that she will grow a little bit more because I don't like my female main characters being the damsel in distress. It's not what I like to read. So yeah, unfortunately this was the worst sequel I've read so far this year. Next question is new release you haven't read yet, and that has to go to Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and that book has been out for a couple months now. I think came out in May, and I haven't had a chance to get my hands on it because there are some other books that I'm prioritizing right now, but I'm hoping to get it this month because I do want to read it as a part of my summer reads. And also the other book is The Night and the Moth. I can't believe I haven't picked this up yet, especially since I love the Shepherd King duology so much and I hear nothing but great things about The Night and the Moth, and there are some people saying that they actually liked it better than the Shepherd King duology, and I want to see what I think of that because Shepherd King duology was one of my top favorites of last year, and she just does gothic fantasy so well. So I'm excited to read those 2 books, and I'm hoping to get them soon. The next question is most anticipated releases for the rest of this year. I have a few. The second half of this year is going to go crazy because a lot of my highly anticipated releases are also coming at the second half of this year, just like the first half, but there's a lot more coming out in the second half. First one is The Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings. This book wasn't on my bingo card of 2025 whatsoever. I was just expecting to read The Conditions of Will, and she wasn't going to release anything else, but she announced this book release a month ago, I think. She like secretly worked on it. We didn't know anything about it. She just put a bunch of teasers on her Instagram post, and I'm so excited to pick this up. It's coming out this month actually on July 15th, and I can't wait. The next book is Wrath of the Fallen by Amber Vina Gold. That one's coming out on October 28th. I can't wait to read it. I can't wait to see how the rest of the plot will go. Next one is Brimstone, of course. I loved Quicksilver of last year. Another one of my 6-star reads. It was so much fun. I loved how different it was, and it like dealt with a lot of more like alchemy magic, and I love the fire sprites that we get in this book. And also Kingfisher, amazing. I loved him so much in the first book, and I can't wait to see what Brimstone will bring us, because the first book kind of like left off on a huge cliffhanger. Also, it's a new situation that they now have to deal with, especially the female main character. I'm so excited for it to come out, and that one comes out on November 18th. The last one that I'm so highly anticipating to come out is Dawn of Chaos and Fury by Melissa K. Roerick. The Legacy series is one of my favorite series of all time. I give every single book in that series a 5-star. There's 3 books out, and we've been waiting on the 4th one to come out for the past year. The last one was supposed to come out in August, but ever since then the whole entire series has been traditionally published, and so it kind of pushed back the release of the last book to November, but I'm super excited nonetheless. Those are my anticipated releases for the second half of this year. The next question is biggest surprise of the year, and that has to go to Amid Clouds and Bones by Ella Fields. That came out of nowhere for me. I just read it because I know Bailey Reads was raving about it, and it was about fae, and this one was like, take Cruel Prince but make it adult. And I love those kind of fairies better because I like the crueler, darker fairies, and this one follows a crueler, darker Unseelie and the Seelie court, and it follows sort of like a little love triangle, but not really if you read the book. But I love the world, and I couldn't stop feeling and kicking my feet about the relationship, and it is very, very smutty, which I kind of cringed at a little bit in one of the scenes, but I love the relationship between the two, female main character and the male main character, and also the world, and I really wish it was in a standalone. I wish it was a series, and I can't believe that I loved it as much as I did and enjoyed it as much as I did. I gave it a 4.5 stars when I read it, and just because of like a few things that happened in the book, but it was such a surprise joy for me. And then a big surprise love I had also was Favorites by Lane Fargo. I absolutely love the drama in this book, and the toxicity, and then the growth of the female main character, and I love that it was such an ice skating background, and it examined the ice skating world and how competitive it is. The first few pages, I honestly thought this was gonna be a 3-star book, but as I kept reading, I had to give it a 5 stars. And another surprise of mine was The Rose Bargain by Sasha Payne Smith. This is another book that is like crueler fae and darker fae, and it kind of combines same whimsy as Once Upon a Broken Heart and also Cruel Prince, but again, make it adult. I loved the world in this. I love that it was Regency era, and it reminded me a lot of the Bridgerton series because it examined like the whole entire season of trying to find your match, and how it examines also the female friendships in this too. It was like a whole bachelor kind of like competition, but there was more to it than that. It was a bachelor competition because the evil queen actually put her son up on the market to marry one of these girls, and I love the female friendship that was formed between them and the perspectives you get from the female friendships as well. That it was such a huge surprise, and I really love this book, and I cannot wait for the second one. I think it's going to be a duology. And the last book that surprised me was Direbound by Sable Sorensen. I enjoyed this book so much. It gave me similar feelings to when I was reading Fourth Wing, and also when I was reading Spark of the Everflame, because the male main character reminded me a lot of Luther from Spark of the Everflame, and I loved the whole entire aspect of bonding with direwolves and how the pack mentality is, and also the ending of this book of the cliffhanger. I cannot wait. The second book was supposed to come out this month, but it's been picked up to be traditionally published since then, so we have to wait until March for the second book, but I cannot wait. And favorite new author or debut author? This is not a debut author, but she is new to me. A new favorite author of mine is Demi Winters. I absolutely loved how she wrote this world, and I loved how she wrote the characters, and how it's very new and more in-depth than a lot of the other romantasy books that I've read. And also this one is different POVs, and despite the fact that it introduced a couple of new characters in this second book, I absolutely start caring for them and worried for them and anxious for them. And the last 100 pages I was so anxious for like some of the stuff that happened, and she's one of my new favorite writers. Newest fictional crush has to go to Ray from Kingdom of Claw. I absolutely loved him in this book. I thought he was just like, he was a morally gray male main character, but he also showed such great growth in this book. How he started to communicate better and trying to think of like how other people feel outside of himself, and I think he's a new fictional crush for me, as well as Stark from Direbound. Like I said, he gave me such great feelings of Luther from Spark of the Everflame, and I loved Luther from Spark of the Everflame. He's one of my top book boyfriends, and if Stark can continue with the way he was at the end of the book, I'm gonna fall fall in love with him even more. And let me read a quote for you. "Give me the word and I'll tear out his throat. All the lives I've ever taken were just training for this moment. Make me your instrument of vengeance. Let my hands act out your every savage, depraved thought. Use me. I'm yours." If that is not Luther coded, then I don't know what is. The next question is books that made me cry. There hasn't been a lot of books that made me cry lately. I think last year was the last time I fully sobbed at a book. Unless it matches how I felt with Kingdom of Ash when I was sobbing during that book, I don't feel like it's cry worthy. But the book that I did sob during was A Throne of Broken Gods, especially during Diana's part. She said feelings that I always feel but never have been able to put the words to, and also how Samkiel fully truly loves her, and the things that he said to her to make her feel that he loved her. He's a man of action, so not only does he say that he loves her, he shows her why. And when she starts really noticing these things, I started bawling my eyes out. There was a full-on chapter where I was sobbing, and I can't believe how much I love this book, and I understand how much I was gonna love it. But yes, I bawled during this book. And the next question is book that made me happy. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I know a lot of people don't like this book, but this actually became a top favorite of mine. I loved the happy relationship between Poppy and Alex. I fully love how they developed at the end, and how it was different because it's not necessarily the male who had to deal with the third act conflict, it was the female, and the growth that she had to go through in order to prove that she's kind of not worthy necessarily, but proving that she wants to show him how much she cares for him, and she had to do the work, which I absolutely loved. I did like the flashback aspects of their past vacations because it showed me how they formed a friendship first before they started feeling anything for each other, and how they became each other's best friend, and it just made me really, really happy, and this will become one of my top favorites of Emily Henry's books. Second to last question is most beautiful book you've bought this year, and of course it has to go to Shield of Sparrows. I wasn't really gonna pick this up, but the moment I saw this edition online and it was the first edition, I had to pick it up, and I heard the reviews of this book and it was amazing, and I loved it too. I gave it a 4.5 stars. It was amazing, and I highly recommend, especially if you're really into The Witcher or deep fantasy with a little bit of romance kicked in. But look at the end pages, and also front cover and the end pages. I had to get my hands on this book, and I think it's completely sold out. I know that Devney Perry said that whatever was left over with Amazon, that was it, and also some of the stores only had a limited amount too, so all of them got sold out. And I love the art in this book, and it's very foresty, and that's what I love. I love foresty kind of books, so this is the most beautiful edition I've bought so far this year. And the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? I have to read Songbirds and Snakes, and main reason why is I just want to get to Sunrise on the Reaping. I've decided to reread the whole entire trilogy of the Hunger Games, then move on to Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then so I can read Sunrise on the Reaping, because I know that it alludes to a lot of the things that happened in the previous books, and since this is Haymitch's story, I do want to go back and read Hunger Games again. It's been so long since I read Hunger Games. I think I read it in a little after high school, right before the third book came out. I think that's when I started reading the series, and it's been so long, and I remember the big parts that happened in the book, but not the full details that I know I would need to read for Sunrise on the Reaping. So of course I have to read that, and then I want to pick up some Frederick Bachman books. I hear amazing things about his writing, and I know a lot of people start off with Beartown, but I know what an emotional turmoil is going to be for me, and I know a lot of the harder, darker stuff are focused on that book, so I want to slowly introduce myself before I dive into that one. So I think I want to pick up Anxious People and also My Friends. I heard those two were amazing from this year, so I want to read those two first, and maybe around the winter time when I'm more mentally prepared for it, I can pick up Beartown. I also want to pick up some Kristen Hanna books. I know a lot of people suggest starting off with The Nightingale, and I don't know, to me I feel like I should wait till when it's colder to read the Kristen Hanna books, so I'm gonna wait until then to pick them up. But those are for sure the books I need to read by the end of this year, because I hear so many amazing things about books, and I cannot let this year pass without picking them up. So those are for sure priorities on my TBR for the next few months. So that's it for mid-year book tag. I like doing these tags because it examines like the different books that I read so far in this year, which ones I like more, which ones I dislike, how my book taste like evolves throughout the year. And I know I didn't talk about my book goals this year. My book goals is 50. I've so far read 39 out of 50 this year. Probably within the next month or so I'm gonna like probably be over 50, and maybe when I get to that point I'll either just leave it alone or adjust it accordingly, maybe go up to 75. But that was all from me. I will leave all of the questions in the description box in case you want to do your own video for it, or if you want to answer the questions in the comments. But thank you for continuing to support my videos, and also if you want to see more videos like this, like and subscribe. It really does help my channel out a lot, and I will see you all next time. Bye.